everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Ax-4 post-mission press conference. I'm Alexis DeJarnette with Axiom Space, and we are joined today by 4 astronauts who recently returned from their successful mission aboard the International Space Station. Commander Peggy Whitson of the United States, pilot Shubhanshu Shukla of India, mission specialist Sławosz Uznański-Wiśniewski of Poland, and mission specialist Tibor Kapu of Hungary. Ax-4 launched on June 25th and concluded after splashing down off the coast of California on July 15th. It marked the first astronaut mission to the International Space Station for India, Poland, and Hungary, and the first time in over 4 decades that these nations launched national astronauts into space. Over the course of 18 days docked to the space station, the Ax-4 crew completed more than 60 research activities, representing the scientific interests of 31 countries, the most ever conducted on an Axiom Space mission to date. And with this mission, our commander, Peggy, extended her record to 695 total days in space, the most by any American astronaut. With that, on behalf of all of us, welcome home, Ax-4. We're thrilled to have you back and can't wait to hear more about your journey. We'll now begin by hearing remarks from each crew member, starting with Commander Whitson. Peggy, over to you.
All right, thanks, Alexis. Good morning. It's a great privilege to be here with you today, reflecting on an incredibly meaningful mission, Axiom Mission 4. When I first flew to space over 2 decades ago, I never imagined I'd one day command a commercial mission with astronauts from 3 different countries, each making history in their own right. This mission marked the return of Hungary, Poland, and India to human spaceflight after decades. And for the first time, astronauts from these nations worked together aboard the International Space Station. But what we accomplished as a team goes even deeper. One of the primary goals that I announced to the crew very early on, before we even started any of the training, was my intent to form not only a high-performing crew, but a team with bonds that would last a lifetime. As lofty, or maybe as corny as you might think it sounds, to say this to a group of individuals from different countries and different backgrounds and different life stories, it was an extremely important goal for me. To their credit, they didn't show their skepticism, even if they thought I was wearing rose-colored glasses. But over the course of the year, a lot has happened for Shuk's, Sław, Tibby, and me, and I could not be more proud of the team. We overcame the hurdles to successfully coordinate and communicate amongst ourselves as we conducted complex integrated procedures, and we explored our own insecurities and strengths in team training while being sandblasted in high winds. And in the end, our efforts grew to include the ISS expedition crew and the ground support groups from all around this gorgeous planet. Basically, we evolved into a kick-butt team with one mission, one purpose, and one commitment to each other and to the science we carried with us. I'm reasonably confident that time will prove that those bonds of a lifetime that I was striving for will be met. Together, we studied how cells repair themselves, how crops might thrive in places where nothing should grow, how the human brain adapts when gravity is no longer a constant. We explored how to manage insulin-dependent diabetes in space, a step toward making spaceflight accessible for those with historically disqualifying conditions. I'd say that's not too bad for an international team who only started working together a year ago. For Shuk, Sław, and Tibby, this mission was also about more than science. It was about national pride, about reigniting the dreams of generations who once looked at the stars and wondered, when will we return? Well, these guys did. And they did it with grace, with professionalism, a whole lot of laughter, and maybe not so quiet strength that reminded me every day why I love this work. This mission proved what's possible when we work together, between nations, between public and private sectors, between seasoned astronauts and first-time flyers. We trained across continents, across cultures, and across time zones. But when it mattered most, when the stakes were high and the world was watching, we moved as one. Because no matter where we come from or how different our paths may be, we go farther when we go together. I want to thank Axiom Space, NASA, SpaceX, and the international partners and agencies that made this mission possible. But most of all, I want to thank these guys. You guys made history. And More importantly, you made me proud. Proud to be your commander and proud to be a part of this moment. Thank you. Over to you, Shuks.
Well, thank you, Peggy. Namaskar. This is my first public engagement with the press since returning from space, and it surely is different. For one, I don't have to brace myself or stabilize myself without floating away into microgravity before addressing you. First and foremost, I wish to express my heartfelt gratitude to the Government of India, ISRO, the Indian Air Force, NASA and its international partners, Axiom Space, and SpaceX. Each of these institutions played a pivotal role in transforming this mission from an idea into a reality. Their unwavering support, coordination, and belief in the mission made it possible for me to be here before you today, not just as a spacefarer, but as a messenger of what's now possible for our nation. In a realm like space exploration built on decades of global collaboration, the moment in this mission that stood out for me was speaking to the Honorable Prime Minister of Bharat while the Indian flag floated behind me. That moment symbolized India's re entry into the conversation, not as a spectator, but as an equal participant. After 41 years, a Bharatiya returned to space, but this time it wasn't a solitary leap. It was the beginning of what I like to call India's second orbit. And this time we are ready, not just to fly, but to lead. The mission itself exceeded every one of my expectations, but nothing, literally nothing, could have prepared me for what came after. The love, the messages, the support from every corner of Bharat. It filled me with something which I did not expect, a new kind of purpose. A purpose that whispers every morning since I've landed. This is only the beginning. While conducting science in space, I remember one moment very vividly, peering through the microscope and seeing the stem cells behaving positively in microgravity, showing encouraging patterns. It was science in motion, 400 kilometers above the planet. I couldn't help but feel a surge of pride, not just in the data, but in the dedication of the ISRO scientists and all the partner institutions across India that made those experiments fly. But science wasn't the only frontier. We also made space come alive for students across the country through STEM demonstrations. Doing science in space is fun as well as challenging. I remember my bubble in a bubble experiment became talk of the town as several crew members tried to help accomplish the feat. It would be a joy for me to share all that with you in the coming days. In the outreach sessions we held with students, the most common question I received was, how do I become an astronaut? And that to me is the true success of this mission. Technical milestones are measurable and crucial. But this, the spark of belief in young minds, this is where the future truly begins. If children across Bharat are already asking these questions, we are halfway there. The rest is just enabling them. As I sit here today, I feel a mixture of emotions: relief, pride, humility. But most of all, I feel connected. Connected to this team who made this mission possible, connected to every citizen who watched that launch, to every child who imagined themselves in a flight suit, to every scientist who stayed up nights preparing an experiment, and to every one of you who has claimed this mission not as mine, but as ours. Thank you for believing in this mission. Thank you for making it your own. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. And I would now like to hand over to Swav for his comments.
Thank you, Shuks. It is fantastic to be back, and I have been reflecting a lot after being back on Earth. I had such an extraordinary time with this crew here on the International Space Station. I can't put into words what this mission meant to me and the accomplishments that were made for my country. It has been such an honor to represent Poland. Each mission to space involves a great amount of teamwork. I wanted to thank everyone working to make this mission possible. The Polish Space Agency, the Ministry of Technology, ESA, Axiom Space, NASA, SpaceX, but mostly all the people who poured their hearts and souls into this mission to make it possible. I wouldn't be myself without sharing a couple of numbers with you. The Polish mission Ignis was made possible thanks to the work of over 500 people. We spent 18 days docked to the ISS and 288 orbits around the planet. We achieved 127% of mission objectives. I executed 105 hours of experiments in science, technology, education, and communication. Together, as a team, we logged over 30 hours of science with partners from the United States, India, and Hungary. I want to thank everyone for those thousands of messages, questions, and hundreds of interviews after the mission. There is still a lot of them to come, and I can't wait to meet you over the next few months. I wanted as well to share one very special moment for me. The moment I'll never forget. After we docked to the ISS, after our welcoming ceremony, we were getting a first tour of the station, and then I was asked to close my eyes. I was lowered into the cupola, where the NASA crew asked me to then reopen my eyes. And then it was. The first look from cupola was my first time looking back to see Earth, to see Poland, to see home. I'll never forget that moment. Earth is big, bright, and so very blue. At the same time, so fragile, with this thin layer of the atmosphere on the horizon. And then I saw these massive solar panels shining in the sun, and the Canadarm on the side, then radiators and the rest of the ISS structure. The structure that keeps us alive in space. At this moment, I felt fully connected to myself as an engineer and as a scientist, but mostly as a human being connected to all of you. This mission allowed me to make new friends for life, this team that is here. At the same time, I look forward to the future collaborations for many years to come. Collaborations for our countries in space exploration and technological advancement. We have this saying in Polish, ale kosmos, what a space. This means something unachievable, something distant in the field of dreams. And now, space is ours. Achievable for us all. And the future starts today. And with that, I'll give the floor to Tibor.
Thank you, Sław. Half a year ago, we were sitting at a similar table, introducing ourselves to the world, talking about plans and hopes. Today, we are sitting here, talking about accomplishments after the world introduced itself to us. As a crew, we spent over 20 days orbiting our beautiful planet, and we are ready to tell you all about it. In those 20 days, actually, we did a lot. We adapted, we got comfortable in our new home and office, we worked a lot, we made a few whoopsies, we scratched our heads and overcame problems. We built a team, we communicated with our friends and families both on ground and space. We tried new foods, of course, we thrived, we laughed. As you know us, we marveled at the beauty around us. And at the end of the day, we turned off the lights and we started the whole thing over again. In other words, we were human in outer space. We were representing you. While aboard the International Space Station, I am proud to say that our countries achieved a lot. Hungary brought 25 experiments on board the orbiting laboratory, spanning a wide range of scientific fields. Long-duration spaceflight asked some questions of us, some big questions, and we did our best to answer them. We showed that we can excel in dosimetry, physics, human biology, and psychology, and yes, finally the world knows that Hungarian paprika is the best, even in space. We spoke with many children, kids who put us to shame with their witty questions and brilliant minds. Also, over time, we got better and better at photography of the most beautiful planet in the universe. Now, we can say only half of our pictures are out of focus, so hopefully they will send us back to improve the rest. When a group of people embarks on a journey like this, there are just too many to thank. First, I would like to express my deep appreciation to my country and my government. Thank you for giving me the highest honor of my life, the chance to represent our nation in outer space. To my coworkers at Hunor, back at home, this mission was only possible because of you. Thank you for showing me how dedication, creativity, and teamwork can tear down any wall. Thank you for making my work run smoothly up there, and for being there during the bumps, solving them together. To our friends at Axiom Space, NASA, and SpaceX, and all the teams across the world, thank you for becoming our new family. You introduced us to this incredible world, trained us to be professionals so we could do our job, fulfill our duty, and make our people proud. I will miss you all more than anything. And lastly, to those who are sitting in front of the screen right now, watching us, listening to our words, and understanding where we as a team are coming from, thank you for following us and our mission and for caring about us. This mission was actually for you, to inspire, to spark your curiosity, your dreams, and your willpower. So whatever comes next, I know deep in my heart that the future of space exploration is in great hands. Thank you for being with us. With that, back to you, Alexis.
Thank you. Ax-4 has proven to be a powerful example of how Axiom Space is redefining access to low Earth orbit, enabling nations, researchers, and individuals to contribute to space exploration in ways never before possible. We'll now open the floor to reporter questions. If you have a question, please use the raise your hand feature or submit your questions in the chat. If you're joining on your phone, press *6 to unmute yourself when called on. Also, please say your name, affiliation, and to whom you'd like to direct your question. We'll start off by reading some questions that were shared in advance. The first one is from Grzegorz Jasinski from RMFFM. These questions are for Shuks, Sław, and TB. First, what new things have you learned about space, and what have you learned about each other? Start with you, Shuks.
Let me start this answer. Thank you for your question. What new have I learned about space? I think everything. This was my first trip to the space. So everything that I've learned, and during the training, during the journey, while preparing for the mission and while doing the actual travel itself. But one thing that was very special or specific for me was when you train on ground, you prepare for the mission and you know the situation and your environment and condition that you're likely to experience. But the actual experience when you are up there is totally different. And I think the experience of going up, being in orbit, performing experiments, and understanding how your body reacts to the microgravity and the environment of space added on to the completeness of the entire training that we had for the past 1 year. So yes, the entire experience of you're going to the space, launching and being in orbit and coming back, I think that was all new for me, and I'm very excited to have got to experience that. Thank you.
Okay, I'll be next. It's difficult to talk after Shuks, but let me share maybe a couple of specific things. Like what I learned is how fast and how comfortable we can get in 3 dimensions. Being on the station at the beginning, in microgravity, I was maybe not the most comfortable. And then when we started to drift to one side, you try to correct back to the vertical, axis that we know. And after a couple of days, it doesn't matter anymore. Your muscles relax, and then you feel really comfortable. And you can use all the volume, all the space. It doesn't matter if you're next to the ceiling or next to the floor, or what the ceiling even means. I would say as well, from the technical point of view, what I learned is a country like Poland that flew for the first time to space was so many people working on the ground to actually prepare all the science, and everything really worked smooth. And then it demonstrates, it's a testimony to the preparation and hard work that put on the ground pays off in space. And I think this is, for me, it's something I was a bit anxious about how it was going to go. And then finally, I think I'm really proud of what we accomplished for hundreds of research groups on the ground, and what we took with us to space really makes a difference in science. And maybe Tibor, over to you.
I mean, you just told that it's hard to speak after Shuks, so I really don't know what to say that right now. No, it's actually, so actually there's a lot to say. Our training was really extensive. So after that training, I thought, that there will not be too many things that will surprise me, and that was actually completely untrue. One of the things that I learned about space is that, similarly what you said, Sław, is that after just a few hours, maybe after a few days, you can really feel natural. The whole position of your body, maybe working in space and translation is another thing, but I think over time it becomes natural for humans to be there, even though that we have only experienced gravity in our life. And we, especially as rookies, we have never been in space, so our body just didn't experience microgravity. So that's something that I learned about space, but also the human body. And maybe as an engineer, I was marveling in this the most because it was really surprising for me how the human body can adapt so quickly. Basically, within hours or days, I think we really adapted well. Maybe we are lucky. So there are some maybe a little bit more funny and practical stuff. Let me just tell you without speaking too long. Folding clothes is basically impossible, and there was literally no one who told us. They told this to us in the past year. Every astronaut plays with water on ISS because it's just very fun to watch. But actually, handling water bending is a skill. You should definitely do that before your first recording sessions. But on a little bit more on the serious side, I really like what you said, and actually both of you said in your opening remarks. Orbiting above the surface of Earth 400 kilometers, you are in outer space. But even that 400 kilometers, 250 miles, is not enough to lose that connection with your people. You really feel connected to humanity. You really feel connected to your people, especially back at home. Every time we had a bump, we had a problem, I just knew that when I have a question to ground, there are people at Axiom, there are people in Budapest who are answering those. So I'm also really, really proud of the collaboration that we did.
Oh, very nicely said. And this one's for Peggy. After the experiences of this mission, do you have any new advice for future commanders on a commercial space mission?
Well, I've had the fortune to grow with a lot of teams, whether they were experienced or inexperienced. And I think, as you know, my job as the commander of 3 rookies was to try and give them as many tips and tricks along the way beforehand, so they would have some awareness. And I think that's the role of the commander, is to help out and kind of set the stage so that people aren't totally caught by surprise. I forgot about the folding clothes part, but I'll put that in next time.
Well, thank you so much, Peggy. And then we're going to take questions from Anjali Marar from the Indian Express. The first question is for Shuks. How has your adjustment been back to gravity after the mission?
Well, thank you, Anjali. Thank you for your question. The first time when we leave the environment of gravity was the time I realized that how our bodies evolve over a period of time, and for almost 40 years we have been in the environment of gravity, and then suddenly you are exposed to an environment where there is microgravity. And the bodies take time to get used to this new environment. And like Tibor was mentioning, that in a few days your bodies get used to this and you start feeling natural. But the same process happens when you come back to the gravity. And that is also quite interesting. I remember this episode when I came back and I was just sitting and I asked for a phone to take a picture from one of the colleagues. And the minute I held the phone, I felt, wow, this is heavy. Like the same phone that we hold in our hand all day long, it felt really heavy to me. And the process happens in reverse. It takes some time. It is difficult to find your balance. It is difficult to find your footing and do the things that you were doing all your life without even giving it a second thought. Thankfully, there is a great program. When the astronauts come back to Earth, there is a properly curated rehabilitation and recuperation program. And step by step, you gain your strength and you gain your balance. And there are exercises and protocols defined which we follow. And I think within 3 or 4 days, again, you are almost back to normal. And thereafter, you continue these exercises. So my rehabilitation has been going great. And today, as I sit before you, I feel perfectly normal. It feels as if I'm ready for another space mission again. So.
Sign us up.
Can I just share one story actually between you and me, which I don't think we talked about too many times. Coming back to Earth, just before splashdown, all the astronauts I think are really curious about how the plasma will look like, right? Especially us rookies. And Shuks was sitting next to me in Dragon, the capsule we got to name, and we gave the new name as Grace. That's very special for me. So anyway, we were looking at the plasma. Fortunately, even in 0G, it starts to build up, and it's beautiful. It's pink, it's orange, and all colors. At the same time, I was looking with one of my eyes to the screen, and it was showing 1G slowly. And 1G, the same G that we experience right now, it was really heavy. Yes. And I was watching you as well. And both of us could only withhold until like 1.8.
Yes.
That was already really hard.
Yeah.
So.
And Shuks, can you share in detail about the status of the experiments that you performed on the space station?
Yeah, absolutely. In detail, I would probably take a lot of time to share for the experiment, but what I can tell you is that I was extremely excited to do the experiments on the station. Swav mentioned in his opening comments that the experiments that we do on ground, when you enable them on station, it requires a lot to think because everything is floating and they have to be enabled in a way that they are performed successfully. And I was very excited to see that entire enabling of those experiments. Also, there were certain experiments in which I could see the results, while we were there on the station, and that was very exciting and very encouraging for me. I can say that all of them have been brought back with us, and they have been shipped to the researchers back home. And in due course of time, we will start coming up with the findings and the results, and I would love to discuss all that when I'm back home. Thank you.
And then finally, what is your biggest takeaway from going to space?
Oh, my biggest takeaway. These are big questions to be answered in one sentence. I think I'm extremely fortunate and at the same time excited to have been a part of a human space mission end to end and experience the entire process. And I think my biggest takeaway is to realize of how much it takes to make such a mission happen. The kind of effort, the kind of manpower, the kind of collaboration it takes to make this entire mission come together and execute it successfully. I'm just amazed to see this entire machinery work in motion, and that for me is the biggest learning. People from all over the world are working together, sitting in different time zones, different countries, and different cultures, but they all come together to make a single mission happen. And for 18 days we were docked, and 2 days, free flight, 20 days together. For these 20 days, I understand of how much effort it requires to make this happen. So I think that would be my biggest takeaway from this mission.
Thank you, Shuks. And Peggy, how was it to train, command, and guide these first-time astronauts?
Oh, I was lucky, I think, because they're pretty receptive most days to my suggestions. And, we started off with, everything about spaceflight. The only constant is change. And we got to experience that in a lot of different ways and a lot of different times throughout all the training plan and actually the execution and the mission. And so, I think it was great being able to help these guys in advance and give them pointers. It meant a lot to me to be able to share my experience.
Thank you, Peggy. And now we'll start taking questions from the online participants. First up, we have Pavla Bagla.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Wonderful to have you back on Earth, and wonderful, Shuks, to see you back on Earth in one piece. And thank you, Peggy, for doing that. First question for Peggy. I have 2 or 3 questions. I will ask them one after the other. First question for Peggy. You said they were receptive to you sometimes. Do let us know how much damage did they do by free floating around like bulls in China shop in the space station?
Well,
And second question, let me ask the question. Otherwise, sometimes you miss the opportunity. I'll ask the question for Shuks. शुक्ला जी, आपको प्रधानमंत्री ने कुछ होमवर्क दिया था, आपने वो होमवर्क पूरा किया कि नहीं? और अगर होमवर्क किया तो क्या आप तैयार हैं गगनयान प्रोग्राम में अपना योगदान देने के लिए? और आपके ऊपर भारत ने करीबन $70 मिलियन खर्च किए, फायदा हुआ कि नहीं हमको?
Okay. All right. So these guys learned very quickly. I was really impressed with how fast they adapted to being in space. But the biggest lesson I tried to teach them in advance is slow is fast. And I think they all took that to heart and moved very slowly until they adapted. And that was why they weren't bulls in the China shop.
I'll take on, and Alexis, is it okay to answer in
Of
Hindi
course, please
or
do.
in Hindi?
Absolutely.
Okay. नमस्कार बागला जी, थैंक यू सो मच आपके सवाल के लिए। मुझे बहुत अच्छे से याद है प्रधानमंत्री जी ने जो मुझे होमवर्क दिया था और मैंने काफ़ी अच्छे से उसे पूरा किया है, और वापस आके मैं बहुत उत्साहित हूँ कि मैं ये आप सबके साथ शेयर कर सकूँ। सबसे बड़ी बात जो ये है वो है कि एक ह्यूमन स्पेस मिशन का हिस्सा बनने से आप पूरा मिशन लॉन्च से लेकर रिकवरी तक आप उसका हिस्सा बनते हैं और आप बहुत कुछ सीखते हैं। और ये जगह ऐसी है जहाँ पे शायद हिस्ट्री के सबसे बड़े ह्यूमन स्पेस मिशंस एग्जीक्यूट किए गए हैं। तो मुझे 1 साल में जो सीखने को मिला है, शायद मैं कहूँगा कि वो 1 साल से कहीं ज़्यादा की नॉलेज है जो मैंने यहाँ पे गेन की है। और मैं बहुत कॉन्फिडेंट हूँ कि ये सब हमारे लिए काफ़ी यूज़फुल रहेगा और वापस आके हम इसको ज़रूर अच्छे से अपने प्रोग्राम में, गगनयान मिशन में हम इसका इस्तेमाल कर पाएंगे। पर उससे भी ज़्यादा जो एक्साइटेड करने वाली बात है वो ये है, मिशन के वापस आने के बाद जो मैंने एक्साइटमेंट देखा अपने देश में, अपनी कंट्री में, स्पेशली बच्चों में, वो एक एक्साइटमेंट वो बन गया है। वो एक्साइटेड हैं ऑलरेडी, वो बहुत क्यूरियस हैं और वो जानना चाहते हैं मेरे मिशन के बारे में, मेरे बारे में, और एस्ट्रोनॉट कैसे बने। तो मुझे लगता है ये एक बहुत बड़ी उपलब्धि अपने आप में ही है इस मिशन की, और इन दोनों को मिला के मुझे लगता है कि ये मिशन काफ़ी सक्सेसफुल रहा है और काफ़ी हमारे मिशन के लिए काफ़ी फ़ायदेमंद रहेगा। धन्यवाद।
Can you summarize maybe
Yep.
in English?
Yes,
as
please.
well?
Absolutely. Yeah, just to repeat what I said in English, what I said, I remember very well of what homework was I given by our Honorable Prime Minister to document everything that we are doing, because we would definitely need it. And I can assure you I've done that very well. And I'm excited to come back and share all that with our program. And I'm confident that all that knowledge is going to prove extremely useful and crucial for us, for our own Gaganyaan mission. And it was great to be a part of this mission, human spaceflight mission, from end to end. And this is the place wherein most notable missions in human spaceflight has happened from NASA. And the learning that I've had in past 1 year, I can say that it is much more than 1 year. The knowledge that I've gained, it spans a history of human spaceflight missions. And I've been extremely fortunate to receive all that. And I think, like I said, it is going to be proved invaluable for our Gaganyaan mission. But the success has already started showing, wherein the kids have already started asking questions like, how do we become astronauts and how do we get to be a part of this? And I think that is also a big success for this mission, because one of the primary reason why you do so human spaceflight missions is to inspire the younger generation and get them to believe that they can be explorers as well. And I think that is already partially achieved. So I'm extremely happy and pleased with the outcomes of this mission already, but I can assure you that we'll have a lot more to learn when I come back. Thank you.
Thanks, Shuk. All right, I'm going to take a question from the chat. This one's from Arsene Haber. This is about national experiments, and this one's for Swav. Have all of them already returned to Earth, and when will we learn about the results?
Oh, this is an excellent question. And actually, the space mission starts way before really the mission, and then ends up and finishes way after the mission. We had a chance to execute quite a lot of experiments. There are some I'm really, really proud of. Like, for example, we demonstrated the first brain-to-machine interface in space ever done by a Polish science group. We tested nanomaterials and sensors that actually came back already to Earth and soon will be shipped to Poland for further analysis. We installed compute platforms for artificial intelligence on the ISS, and these platforms will stay for months or maybe years. And this research is going to continue. Poland also developed big systems in dosimetry, so radiation exposure and environmental conditions and environmental measurements, in radiation and acoustic measurements. So this is the future for the spaceflight, preparing Poland to contribute to building much bigger systems for future platforms, as, for example, the new space stations, either towards the moon or maybe lunar habitat or low Earth orbit. So there is not a simple answer on that, but we will capitalize on that mission in terms of scientific outcome in the next months and even years by having access to these data. But as well, I really hope in a much, much longer term, it will really inspire people, young children, students, to actually invest in STEM domains, in technology, in science. And then I hope that when I will be asked this question 5 years from now or a decade from now, we'll be in a completely different place.
Awesome. Thanks. All right, we're going to take Claudia Kawazilik.
Hello, do you hear me?
We have you loud and clear.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, we have you. Claudia, can you hear us? Can you please ask your question?
Yeah, I can hear you. Do you hear me?
We can hear you.
Oh, Now it works. Hello. I have a question for all of you about smashing things when you came back to the Earth. How are your glasses and cups and plates? Do you have some funny histories about this? Thank you.
You want to start?
Actually, thank you for the question, Claudia. I think it's easier to bump into things in space for sure. That's a new environment that you have to learn. When I was returning to Earth from space, my core memory basically is that everything was really heavier than originally. We were still at the Dragon capsule, and right after splashdown, we were just rocking on the water, and all of my limbs, my legs were and my arms were really, really heavy, so I just couldn't hold them. Fortunately, the human body adapts so fast, even by just resting and lying. Your body gets used to or start to get used to 1G again. So within a few hours, you are in a much better shape. And I don't remember breaking any glasses, fortunately.
Maybe I'll fill in. I have almost a lifelong history of smashing protons together. So, so yes, but coming back to Earth seems a bit easier than going to space, as Tibor said. Getting used to microgravity and floating on the station and making sure your body position is right, that was a challenge, especially at the beginning. And then coming back to Earth, it seems this adaptation, at least for me, was much faster. I was quite fast, even clear to drive. So that was a good moment. But I would say we have such a long history and experience of being on Earth that I think this adaptation, at least for myself, was much smoother than the other way around.
Great, fantastic. I do actually have a story for you. I kept it to myself, otherwise they would have laughed at me. But now you put me at a point and that I have to share this story. Going to space, it was difficult for me to let go of things. I had a fear that they will fall and they would break. And then over a period of time, you get used to leaving things because obviously everything is falling at the same time, so nothing falls to the ground. I remember the first night when I came back, I went to sleep, and when I woke up in the morning, I had some work to do on my laptop. I was sitting on the bed and working, and then I thought I'll get up and go, and I just closed my laptop and I left it to the side of the bed. So I did drop my laptop, thinking that it will float right next to me. Thankfully, the floor was carpeted, so there was no damage done, and I could salvage my laptop. But yes, that was the only episode that I had of dropping something after coming back from space, nothing else.
All right, we'll take another question from the chat. This one's for Tibor from Cisco Balant Palafai. When are you returning to Hungary, and what do you miss most from home?
That's an excellent question. Thank you very much. So I'm returning to Hungary in the middle of August. In the past 2 weeks, we had what's called a recovery phase. So we were working on our body and to get accustomed to 1G again. We did a lot of workouts. We had balance tests, and we were fortunately clear to drive, as Sławosz mentioned. And again, we didn't smash anything, especially not cars. So what's coming up and what's ahead of us is another 2 weeks of period, which we call debrief. So we will talk with all of our colleagues at Axiom Space, NASA, and SpaceX to share our experiences, to just tell them what we experienced on space, and hopefully they will also tell us what did we do wrong. So that takes 2 weeks for us, and after that, right when we finished our work here, I will be jumping on the first plane possible to go home and speak with more and more Hungarians. And what do I miss the most? I think I miss my family and friends the most. In the past year, obviously, there has been some rough patches. The preparation for a mission like this doesn't always only have good days. There are some harder ones as well. And those are the people, exactly. When you talk to them, they are the ones who give you energy. And meeting them for the first time again, it will be awesome.
Thanks, Tibor. All right, we next have Deepak Sharma.
नमस्कार शुभांशु जी। मैं दीपक शर्मा, जर्मन स्पेस मैगजीन रॉमफर्ट कॉन्क्रीट से। मेरा प्रश्न आपके लिए ये है कि आपने अंतरिक्ष में लगभग 20 दिन बिताए, जहां से आपने पृथ्वी को एक बिल्कुल नए दृष्टिकोण से देखा। इस अनुभव ने आपके विचारों में क्या बदलाव लाया? पृथ्वी और मानवता के प्रति आपकी सोच में और साथ ही आपके अपने व्यक्तिगत चिंतन व मानसिकता में किस प्रकार का परिवर्तन आया?
धन्यवाद दीपक आपके प्रश्न के लिए। मुझे लगता है कि एक स्पेस मिशन में एक दृष्टिकोण की जो आप बात कर रहे हैं वो बहुत यूनिक है। एक इमेजिनेशन थी, एक एक्सपेक्टेशन थी मेरी कि जब ये एक स्पेस मिशन होगा तो मुझे पृथ्वी ऐसे दिखेगी या किसी प्रकार में दिखेगी। बट जो एक्चुअल जो साइट थी, जो एक्चुअल व्यू पॉइंट था वो काफ़ी अलग था। और सबसे बड़ी चीज़ जो एक वैसे तो बहुत बड़ा सवाल आपने पूछा है, बट अगर एक चीज़ मैं इसमें मेंशन कर सकता हूँ तो वो ये रहेगी कि बाहर से पृथ्वी को देख के ये लगता है कि ये पूरी पृथ्वी हमारा घर है, हम सब का घर है। और हम इसी प्लैनेट के सिटीजन्स हैं। ह्यूमैनिटी यहीं पे पली बढ़ी है हमेशा से और यहीं पे रह रही है। एक वननेस की फीलिंग आती है। हमारे कल्चर में वसुधैव कुटुंबकम का जो मोटो है वो बहुत सरलता से आप समझ पाते हैं जब आप बाहर से पृथ्वी को देखते हैं। जैसे मैंने कहा बहुत सारे एस्पेक्ट्स हैं जो मैं बता सकता हूँ, लेकिन सबसे बड़ी बात जो मुझे दिखी वो एक वननेस की, एक वसुधैव कुटुंबकम का जो एक मोटो है वो समझ में आता है जब आप बाहर से पृथ्वी को देखते हैं। कोई भी, मैंने पहले भी कहा है, कोई भी बॉर्डर, कोई भी सीमा रेखा नहीं दिखाई देती। ऐसा दिखता है कि ये पूरी पृथ्वी हमारा घर है। Or and to repeat what I said in English for the rest of the audience is that the question asked was this: what was the perspective that you gained when you traveled to space, and how did it change your uh, viewpoint or outlook about how you see as Earth? And my response to this question is that I had an expectation in my mind when I traveled out that I would see Earth in a particular way, but it was totally different. It was not what I had in mind. There are a lot of things that I can talk about this, but the one thing that stood out for me was the oneness of the planet, which we call home. This is our home, home of humanity. We have always been here, all of us who are sitting on this table and everybody else. And so it is distinctly visible that this entire planet is our home for all of us. There are no borders visible. There are no demarcations that is visible. So I think the sense of oneness was very strong for me when looking back at Earth from this space. Thank you.
And thank you. All right, we're taking another question from the chat. This one is for Peggy from Elizabeth Howell with space.com. What new things did you learn about spaceflight after extending your record during Ax-4?
New things. Well, I've been there for a few days. So new things, I guess, you know, the stations changes slowly, but it does change here and there. There's new technology, new experiments. And so it's fun to see the new stuff that's up there. Of course, it feels like home because so much of it is the same. But I don't know. I think I don't have anything specific on new.
We'll take it. New first-time flyers.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's always fun to watch someone new who's new to space because it reminds you of all the experiences you had when you were first up there. So it's always great to relive a little bit of that first time.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Peggy. All right, we're going to take Rita Kosaurus. And Rita, can you confirm that you hear us?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, nice. It's very good to see you all on Earth again. I have a question for Tibor. And the question is, are you alone in the US, or are there any other members of the Hunar program with you, or were there any other than Yula? And another question for you, I would like to know which one of the experiments you did was the most out of field for you. As we know, you are an engineer, so thank you.
Nice, thank you very much for your questions, Rita. I have a lot of people with me from Hunar here, and this has been actually, true for the whole year. Actually, it was yesterday when we moved to Houston a year ago. So it was a long journey, and I had always Jula with me for a part of the preparation. We also had his family, which was really awesome. So I think those were the times when I really didn't feel alone. Having with those two kids, it was just awesome for me, or being with them. And right now, because the mission or this closure of the mission has a really dynamic phase, because of all the recovery and debriefs, I had a lot of people supporting me. So not only Jula, but actually I couldn't even count how many people and colleagues and coworkers are here for me from UNOR. Their support has been immense and really, really important for me throughout the whole year. So it's really, really awesome to have them here. And the second question, all of my experiments are my favorites. I do not pick any of them. I do not. So all of them are my kids, and I do not pick favorites. But if I do have to tell, or do I, if I have to pick one, especially me as an engineer, I was really surprised how much I enjoyed everything regarding biology. We have been flying fruit flies to the space station. I have been checking on them every second day. I did much more documentation and notes regarding their health and behavior than I was supposed to do. I was very proud of them, moving and thriving in microgravity. The reason we brought them is that we want to do examinations on their body to find out which enzymes are the ones who can actually repair or which can repair their DNA the most after being damaged by radiation. So fruit flies were definitely one of them, but I think you guys left because you know that I will be, actually, this is a decision made today. I will be taking gardening as a hobby after this, raising those paprikas and wheats and radishes on orbit. It was just so much fun seeing them grow. I have a story. I was messaging and leaving notes for Huntsville, our science center, basically at NASA, for 3 days. That I really think these wheats are much bigger than we thought. So we really have to do something with those boxes so they can fit. So we definitely overachieved our expectations. 120%, 27% as Bob mentioned earlier. So. Coming back, I really, really enjoyed all of my experience, but the ones regarding biology, it was just so special for me.
All right. And then next in line is Puran Chowdhury.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hi, Shukla. Welcome back to Earth. I'm Puran. I work with Economic Times. So my question is, among all the experiments that you conducted on board ISS, which one do you feel holds the greatest short-term benefit for life on Earth? And which one was your favorite? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. I think it is very similar to what was asked to Tibor right now. And I would respond by saying that I will not pick favorites, but yes, to the first part of your question, I think most of the experiments that were designed by the researchers in the country and enabled by ISRO were with the viewpoint of enabling a space flight for us, because we are on that journey with missions like Gaganyaan and everything. So we had experiments which were doing stem cell research to understand why this atrophy happens and how can we prevent it or even delay it. The experiments involved growing cyanobacteria or space microalgae or crop seeds as well, which look at sustaining nutrition for in a confined space. Having food or crops that are nutritionally dense ensures food security for astronauts on the station. And so these were very, very insightful, and for us to understand of what all are the possibilities that we can do to ensure that even in such confined and isolated environment, we can ensure food securities as well as the deconditioning that happens to the body, of how to prevent it or how to delay it. And all these experiments that we did on station also have their real-time benefits on ground for various degenerative diseases that we have, or even for ensuring food security on ground. So I was very excited to perform these experiments on station, and I think that they really have a potential of ensuring all these challenges, addressing all these challenges on station, as well as their real-time applications back on Earth as well. Thank you.
All right, and with our remaining time, I'm going to take one more question for the chat, and this is for Peggy from Olivia Tyler with KCCI TV. We spoke to you a few months ago about inspiring the next generation of astronauts. Now, having led a commercial flight, as the only woman on board, how do you feel? And what would you say to young women inspired by what you have accomplished?
Well, I was the only woman on board the Dragon spacecraft with these 3 guys, but I actually was lucky enough to actually fly with 2 other International Space Station female astronauts, Anne McClain and Nicole Ayers. And so it was a great experience to be with ladies in space. I have flown with a few women in the past. It's nice that they're more frequently an option. out there now, and I would say that for young people, young women in particular, there isn't a limit. You can become what you want to. You just have to work really, really hard and be the best you can be, and you will succeed.
Thank you, Peggy. Well, that's all we have time for today. Thank you to the Ax-4 crew for your hard work and dedication that made this mission a great success. Thank you to the Indian Space Research Organization, the European Space Agency, and the Hungarian To Orbit program, our partners on this monumental endeavor. And thank you to those who tuned in today. For any follow-ups, you can email them to the Axiom Space Communications team at media@axiomspace.com. We'll close now, leaving you with highlights from this historic mission that successfully realized the return to human spaceflight for 3 nations. And to sign off, namaste, do widzenia, and vizlet.
When I think or feel about having the flag on my left shoulder, I just want Hungarian people to know that we did this. We were able to achieve this. And it completely doesn't matter for me who is in the suit. I am proud, but I just want them to be proud as well.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and lift off.
For 3 nations, a new chapter in space takes flight. Godspeed, Ax-4.
Welcome, Earthlings, from Great.
It's an amazing feeling to be in orbit for the first time. When I looked out through the window for the first time, the view was just stunning.
Wow, what a ride it was. But when the ride started, it was something. Like, you're getting pushed back into the seat. It was an amazing ride. And then suddenly, nothing. It was an amazing feeling.
We also wanted to thank you for basically thanks for everyone around the world and every person, every team who made this beautiful day happen.
Grace crew, welcome aboard the International Space Station. Peggy, welcome back. It's a great honor and privilege to have such a legendary astronaut on board with us. And Tibor, Shukla, and Sławosz, congratulations on your first space flight.
Thank you to all participants. Station, we are now resuming operational audio communications.
I travel to space with the dreams of 1 billion hearts with me. I want them to live this journey with me because I feel that it is equally theirs as it is mine. Because I feel that this is truly the journey of an entire nation.
And look where we can go when we work together on common platform, common science, then sky is no longer the limit. We can explore space, we can explore science, we can explore technology and build new solutions for the future.
The Ax-4 crew came here with a purpose and a really busy agenda. This was a great mission and we enjoyed it the most. So now we will return home and we will spread the word in our countries that these things are within our reach. These things are possible even for smaller countries like ours.
It's always great to work with a bunch of professionals, which you are, but it's even more special to work with folks that have become our friends even more deeply. Thank you.
Thank you to the Axiom 4 crew.
And we have splashdown of the Ax-4 crew back on planet Earth.
Welcome home.
think it's really important to have these examples of people to show the new young generation that actually there are no boundaries. Your dreams, your careers, and your lives have no limits. This is what you dream of, then you can pursue.